discussion. So welcome to American TESOL Presents Free Friday Webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and today I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, which is very close to one of our participants there. But we also, I also travel a lot and do a lot of teacher training. On Sunday, I'll be traveling to Gothenburg, Sweden to train about 6,000 teachers. So I'm very excited about this. So today we're going to talk about SCANdalous learning and QR codes. And basically, it's not really that scandalous. It's more like new ideas with QR codes and things, what it is, what a QR code is, and how it's very helpful in education, in case you were not familiar with QR codes and you've always wondered, well, what's the point in that? But also because one of the things you have to do with the QR code, the most important way that you learn is you scan. How many of you have taught scanning to your students? That's actually, I think, a very important lesson. And what kind of scanning do you teach your students? When do we teach our students to scan? You can type it in the chat box while I give you a little bit of information about what is a QR code. So you saw on the front page a QR code, and QR codes are basically everywhere. If you look around your house, you probably, if you look at the mail that came in, you'll see that a lot of times they have like QR codes. So this is a letter, and here you can see the QR code right there. It's a way now that a lot of companies will give you to pay bills and stuff like that. It'll come on different types of letters. It comes on coupons. Here's a ticket to go see a game. And then you can see the QR code right there. Woo! There we go. You can see the QR code right there. So every Friday, I forgot to tell you, every Friday we're here, we're free, and you can get a certificate at the end. I'll tell you more about that at the end. But QR codes are definitely all around us. The magazine article right here, if you look at the magazine article, even at the very end with the advertisements comes QR codes. So QR codes are everywhere. There are also maybe some other places you've seen them. You can put in the chat box, like billboards. A lot of times you'll see them in billboards. So that's what a QR code is. It's a quick response barcode. And so you can even see them on this candy, which I thought was really interesting. And the fun thing about it is if you actually scan that picture, I found it on Flickr, as you can tell, you can see that it leads somewhere. It can lead to many things. It can lead to a video, a poll, a text message. And right here in this example, it's leading to a web page. And this web page, you would think, what kind of information can you get from scanning a lollipop with a QR code? And in this particular instance, it's to a hacker website. So I thought that was quite interesting. You need a QR code scanner. And so you can find this on most of your cell phones. Sometimes they come with an app already if they're not mobile friendly, internet friendly. But so some of the phones that are coming out, even though they're not smartphones, will have a QR code app. But a lot of times you can download free apps from the internet. You can actually even, if you take a picture of the QR code with your phone, you can submit it online to find out what it has. They're everywhere, but a lot of times people don't know how to use them effectively, and I'm not sure if many people really scan them, which is quite interesting, but they are great for your students, and I'll show you some great lessons and how the lessons really get your students to move around and speak, and why I think QR codes are great. These are a few of the free apps out there, so if you do have a smart device, you can, depending on, it doesn't matter if it's Android, or it doesn't matter if it's Windows, or it doesn't matter if it's BlackBerry, you can find apps for it that are free. You just have to put QR code. These are the ones highly recommended. Enigma. Spark Q code is actually a website. QuickMark is the one I use. I actually paid the 99 cents for it because I love that in this app I can create and I can scan QR codes. And that's where it's really great for your students, is when they can create QR codes. QR code wizard, it's a way for your students to go ahead and make pretty colored QR codes, which they'll want to do. QReady and then QRaptor. QReady is a fantastic free app. It was developed by Germans who made it to where it's a free one. It's mostly written in German. That's why I'm letting you know this. But it does both. It allows you for free if you have an iDevice, like an iPad or an iPhone or iPod, or an iPad mini now, to go ahead and scan and create QR codes. And a lot of times when you use the free QR codes, you don't get both options. You have to download a different app for creating and a different app for scanning. So that's why I recommend that one, because it's really good. Why QR codes? Well, that's an important question. And I think one of the reasons why it's great for students in education, especially language learners, why I would use it with my students is, and I have taught ages 2 to 80 years old English, is it gets students out of their chairs and moving. A lot of times students will be restless. They'll need that time to get out and do something. So QR codes are a great way to take a break, maybe like a 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, get out of your chair, learn something, scan it and learn it. And it saves paper. It promotes exploration. If they see a bunch of QR codes somewhere, yes, exactly, like Canterbury is saying, it's like a puzzle, exactly. It's like a clue to something. They want to know, what is this funny thing it's sending me information about? What am I going to learn from it? So they do get curious about it. It shows that learning is all around them, that it's not just in the classroom, but it's everywhere. Like I showed you, this ticket to go somewhere has a QR code, and your bills and magazines and coupons. So it's interesting to see how businesses use them as well. Learn that learners can interact with the world around them. They can begin investigating. And these are what the lessons I'm going to show you today do. So how do we make a QR code more interesting? Because it's black and white and it's kind of plain if you look at it. I like to spruce things up, and this is one of the QR codes that I did for my free mobile learning book, 50 Quick Tips and Resources. So if you actually scan this, you could scan this right now using your phone and the QR code there, and it would come up with a website on your mobile device. So that's pretty cool. But the QR codes, you can make them interesting because a lot of your students, especially middle school to teenagers, are going to want to make them individualized. So here you can see my initials. I made it individualized like that. I put it purple. I put a little heart. Well, how did I do this? You can do this with SparQ code. Well, at least you can make different colored ones. It won't necessarily change the format or shape, but it will do different color ones. And it's absolutely free. It's online, SparQ code. Image editor. Any kind of image editor. I use PowerPoint. I put it up in PowerPoint, and then I right click, and then it makes it different shades. So it can, I like that. And then I added the heart, and I always do a lot of things with PowerPoint as an image editor, but you can do it with Photoshop as well. There's QR code Wiz, and then there's Enigma. All of those are places to make it more individualized for your learners. So this is what SparQ code looks like, sparqcode.com. And then on this one, the thing about SparQ code, sorry, I went ahead of myself there, is you can enter the URL. And since you can attach it to a URL, that means that you can attach it to anything online. That means a YouTube video, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a URL. You can also do a map. You can do an SMS. So even for your own general knowledge, if you have a mobile device and you plan a party or something like that, you can have a little QR code where they scan it, and they can, a map will come out, a Google map, and they'll be able to get directions to your party. You could have contact information. So you could have it on a business card, for example. And if you have it on a business card, then they can find more information about you. And you might say, well, why would I want to do that on a business card? Or why would I want, because it's easier. It's much easier than someone, it's more likely that someone, if they know about QR codes and they have a QR code scanner, which many people around the world have smartphones now, that they will do that versus typing in your web address, because that takes a lot of time to type in a web address. So if they have something where they can just scan it, and it's fun that way, it makes it something that they're curious about. You spark their curiosity. Then And the same thing with students. They're not going to want to always type in. They are lazy sometimes, our students. So if they can take out that step, it's more likely they'll visit and they'll learn the information that you want them to, or listen to the video, or listen to the listening exercise that you're trying to get them to do. You can put it towards an app at the App Store, and also calendar date. So there's so many things that you can do with SparkQ code that you can attach it to. You can attach it to a video of you speaking. You can attach it to a poll, an online poll, and I'll show you how that goes, or something that they have to listen to and then later answer questions to. So there's so many ways that you can use QR codes to get students to be interactive with it. This is a fantastic website. This is from Active History, and I just have to say that Russell Tarr, he's a programmer. I was able to meet him this week this past year in Toulouse, and he's a programmer and a teacher, and he creates incredible things such as this QR code bookmarklet. So what it does is basically, if you have this bookmarklet, if you have it top of your browser, then any website you go to, you can just click it and it automatically generates a QR code. It does it within seconds, and it's absolutely free. Our students can do it too. So here are a few ideas on how to use QR codes. First one, I really love this from the pgeek.com. He did this amazing lesson. So he got the parts of the body, and you know how a lot of times we have to go ahead and we have to memorize the parts of the body, and that can be a bit of drilling. We don't learn much about the parts of the body. But with the PE Geek, what he did was he actually put QR codes all over the different parts. He had his students go around and scan these QR codes. Some of them, they had to just take the pictures on the mobile device, and then they uploaded them to the website, so that way they could find out what the information was. It led them to a website to play a game about that particular part of the body, to see an interactive video, maybe hear a joke. I mean, just so many different lessons. For example, if they scan like the clavicle or something, then they would find games on that, or a video or something to get them interested in exploring that part of the body. So you can integrate this with Realia. You might say, all of us do kind of a getting to know the classroom type of lesson at the beginning of the year. And so you can do that with that. For example, you can put QR codes around maybe your posters in the classroom, or maybe a chair, or maybe a desk, or maybe to interact with different kinds of vocabulary. You can have them go around, and they can do that, maybe around the school grounds. So there's different types of Realia. Depends what you're teaching. If you want them to investigate, for example, different grammar points, then you can put this, for example, on different ways that they can use something, like a verb. Now, a good example might be is someone running or something like that, or maybe there's a turning, pull out the chair, so they can scan a chair on a QR code, and it gives them a demand instead. Go pull out the chair. So there's so many ways you can integrate it with Realia and get them learning different types of language and following commands and things. You can make it a game. QR coded world. This is another lesson idea that they came up with. Students collect QR codes in their homes and area, just like the one I showed you where there was a ticket. So basically you're getting them to familiarize. This is an introduction to QR codes for students, because they're not very familiar with them either. So you tell them, okay, what you're doing for homework is you're going around your house and seeing where you can find QR codes. In the grocery store, in the library, find QR codes, take pictures of them. You don't have to, if you can bring them in like a letter or something like that, that's fabulous. But if you can't, then just take pictures of them. And so what they do is they just want the QR code. And what they do is then you are going to go and you're going to physically post these on the wall. If you have to print them, then print them, post them on the wall, everyone, okay? And then the kids will go and they'll scan different QR codes, and then they'll see what they have to do, at least 2 or 3 or whatever you say. and you can just post these on the board on your screen, your white screen board. And then the students can scan 2 of the cards, and then you can ask them, what did it link to? They have to answer that question. They can answer in pairs, or they can type this up. Depends if you want them to practice writing or speaking skills. And then they then they have to guess, was this QR code found on a billboard, a letter, a coupon, a pamphlet? Where do you think, by investigating what the QR code led to, where do you think it was posted on? Because they're not going to know. They're just going to see a bunch of QR codes. And then, so it's a guessing game, and they have to infer, they have to use all the context clues to figure out from the website. And that's really good for literacy and reading, to get them to use context clues to figure out the meaning of things, to make connections and ties. So that's what they're doing. And then they can go back after they guess, oh, this was from, I think, the shopping center down the street on the coupons or something like that. And then they can say, then they get to do another fun game where they get to be creative, and they get to say, they get to make an evaluation. Could you make this more interesting? How do you make this interactive? For example, on this type of billboard or grocery ad, do you think this was the best way to use the QR code? And they'll evaluate it, and they'll say yes or no. And then you say, okay, you're going to pretend you're the marketing director now that's doing the QR code. How would you make it better? How would you improve it? How would you make it more interactive? How would you get more customers to actually enjoy the experience using the QR code? So that's one of the things. Inspection. This is called inspection. So you assign students to different parts, aspects, characteristics of the object to research. It could be any object. It could be parts of the body. It could be verbs, nouns, any type of idioms, or just put an object up as well. I mean, you can do, for example, if you're teaching restaurants, about restaurants and menus, or clothing, you could give them maybe somebody who has a doll or something with clothing, and then put QR code. And then what they do is they create a QR code with a video, audio, question, game, or website, and they scan the QR codes on the objects and discovers what their peers found. So in this one, they get to actually create QR codes as well for whatever the object is. Definition. So assign the students a part, aspect, characteristic of an object to define. And then what they do is the students create a QR code with a video definition. So for example, on this one, if you scan this QR code, you will actually see the students from Brazil that I was training define different words. They make word definitions, and they do it through a video that they created. Then they can upload this to something like Apostrophe, Wiki, or blog, which are all free, or they can add it to the site wordia.com. Scavenger hunts are usually the way that QR codes are made more interactive and used by a lot of educators. So what happens is that the teacher inputs a question and the answers on a QR code. Try putting your answer in audio or video so you can develop other skills. Your students can practice their listening skills, and they can also practice trying to the accents and stuff like that. So I think that's very important as well, the way we input information. The teacher creates a QR code for each question and one for each question and answer. And the teacher hides these QR codes around the entire school. So this could be questions about a test. It's a great way to review a test or something like that. And the students, though, they walk around and they look at the question, and then they have to input an answer. They get into pairs or small groups to find these, so that way they can interact and help each other. And then when complete, each group shares their findings. You can make this the actual test. Instead of having them fill out a bunch of multiple choice questions on a test, then they can easily just have these questions scattered around the room. So they take their task while going from place to place. It's a great way to get them out of their seats, and they don't really have to, necessarily be outside the classroom, so you can monitor it, because you can see if they're speaking or not. So it's a great way to monitor. Vasiliki gives another suggestion. She says, in Halloween, tricks or treats. Yeah, that's true. They can. But if they find the QR code, then they get a treat. So yeah, a great way to turn it into a Halloween themed QR code scavenger hunt. Here, Russell Tarr once again comes out with something very useful for this, because you might say scavenger hunt is going to take forever. So that's true. So what he has designed is actual a QR code treasure hunt. So you can go ahead and you can do this QR code hunt generator. He gives you free lesson plans as well to use with QR codes if you scroll to the bottom of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that link. It's easy. He says submit your series of questions and answers, get a QR code for each question, and then you just put the QR, you print them out, you put them all over the school, and then the students answer and find the questions. These are other ways that I've seen QR codes used that I think are very great. This is on Flickr, and what they did was they took the periodic table of elements, all the elements, and you can scan these and you can actually see different information about all of these elements. I think you can do this also as well with parts of speech, grammar, anything that's kind of very technical where it's like a listing category that usually students drill or learn. Then this is really good for those kind of things. If they scan these QR codes, they can see different kinds of elements, what objects and stuff are consisted. Yeah, poetry as well. Maybe they scan a haiku. Maybe they scan an onomatopoeia poem. So yes, anything that has like a bunch of categories, they can scan, and it's a visual effect and it's beautiful. So how can we use QR codes with websites? It's very good to tie it with the website. Have them where they visit the website and can contribute to it. Now remember, a lot of them will be seeing these websites on their mobile device, so it has to be a mobile friendly website. There are some really good ones there. Use it to launch an MP3, so they can listen to something, and they should be able to listen on their phones to an MP3. Have them be content creators, and then they can create a video as well. They can create and answer polls. This one is specifically made for that. Yes, Jeremiah, that is right. You can attach it to YouTube as well. That is correct. And it will show up in all of the devices. Now, they're working on getting one for Flash and stuff for the newest iDevices. But YouTube, so there's some websites that may work on certain devices and not, depending on the Flash. But I'll show you a few that work really well. Polls to Go is fantastic. It's made for mobile devices. This is what it looks like. So if you scan this one, you can actually answer my poll for this webinar, which is, what was your favorite QR code activity? So you basically type 280 characters, your name, or pseudonym. You don't have to put your real name. Your students can have, like, maybe they put their first initials or their initials only. And then their email or Twitter, and that's optional. You decide, so this is what it looks like with Post to Go. You have several options. You can do it in different languages, and it automatically generates a QR code for your polls. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for doing that, Cancer. Apparently I typed it wrong. Sorry about that. Create activities, portfolios, or presentations on WebDoc. WebDoc.com is HTML5 website, and it's really fantastic. You can just use WebDocs online for free. But the reason why your students will like it when they're creating QR codes, because this is something that I was able to do. You can embed YouTube videos. You can embed different apps all over everything, so they can create these dynamic QR codes where they're interactive, where somebody, whoever scans it, answers the question. So it's really quite cool for them. They can answer polls, they can vote. It might be a good idea for the upcoming elections where they vote with a QR code. Here they watch a video. If they scan the QR code, they watch a video, and then they answer this poll here. And all of that's through the WebDoc. And this is another one, what it looks like. It could be an online portfolio instead. This is also WebDoc. So I made it very nice. All of these are different links that people can see in video. So WebDocs does quite a bit. You can do so much with WebDocs. You can attach it to a digital story. So you can do something like photobabble.com, and if you scan this particular QR code, then you will be able to see Roscoe the pug say a very holiday message for you. Roscoe's my pug. He's not around right now, but he always shows up in these lessons. The other thing that you can do is you can do it to YouTube, Animoto video, and your students can create these, and they can go and they can look at each other's different ones. They can contribute to a long online discussion. VoiceThread has an app on the, and so you can use it that way, or it's a website as well. So if you scan this, then they can go to the VoiceThread, and then they can go ahead and they can add a video comment, a text comment, they can doodle something. So VoiceThread is very good to attach with that as well. They can contribute to a mind map. So you can create a QR code that leads to a Poplet. Poplet's a free app as well that will show on a mobile device. And more than one person can add to this mind map. It's absolutely free. It's on the website as well. You can add links, you can add pictures as well. They can create a collaborative story because Google Docs comes out on your mobile device. And when you come up with Google Docs, then they can actually type on there. They can see each other editing all at once, one document. So it could be like a class chain story where one person begins, or maybe they're looking at each other's. Maybe it's not a collaborative story. Maybe they scan the QR code and it's their essay and they have to peer edit on their mobile device with this. So it makes it very interactive and collaborative. You can do so much. A guess who interview. So what I did was I actually came up with these interview questions. Please answer the following. What is your height? Are you a boy or girl? What's your favorite? So what it does is they scan the QR code in this particular instance with this interview, and they answer the questions on a Google Doc, these questions. And then they print the QR codes, and the students, by looking at the answers, they find out, they try to guess who these clues are. So this is a get to know you activity where all the students have a QR code after answering this interview, and then they scan it and they try to match the clues and say, oh, her favorite color is blue. Maybe it's Sally, because Sally is wearing blue today, all blue socks and a blue crazy hat or something. So it's good with. They can use Linowit.com. They can scan it, and you go right now, you can actually scan this, and you can add your own Post-it note. It's a sticky wall Post-it note. So if you scan this right now, you could go on and you can answer, you can put a Post-it sticky note on my Linowit wall. You can use capsules, which is an interactive timeline. More ideas. You can add to a music list. So something like Spotify, you can do collaborative or Groove Shark. So your students, you can pick a theme. You can say today, this week, every week you can relate it to a music theme, because kids love music and they love to share music. So you can say, okay, this theme, we're studying about animals. So our music has to relate to animals. Now, even for teenagers, you can say, it just has to have animals in the lyrics. They might do something like Animal Collective, which is a group that a lot of, it's an indie group, or things like that. So you can relate it to whatever the theme is of the week, and they can scan it, it goes to that class collaborative list, and they can add it to that music list. At the end of the week, they can see what they all came up with together and listen to these different songs in English. They can do an online forum, a digital time capsule, add an image to a group. So you can associate this with a Flickr group that people can continue to upload to. The same thing, each week have a theme. This week we're doing, we're going to do animals again, okay? So then they can find pictures of animals, maybe their pet or something like that, and they can upload it to a Flickr group using the QR code. You can attach it to different games, online games they can play to review grammar, to review whatever the topic is. They can do collective review notes on something. They can do tours. They can do cheats. Like, for example, if they're playing a game, then they can give cheats to each other. Cheats means like ways to successfully finish a game by skipping a few steps. So a lot of the different types of And Charlene says, what is the best app or site to use to make the actual QR codes? Earlier I showed you QR code Spark QR code, so that's a good question there. And so what I'll go ahead and do is I'll go ahead and give you the website for that. But Spark QR code, it's an online, so they don't even have to have their mobile device to do it. But if they're doing, if they are doing it on their mobile device, iNigma is usually what most teachers say. I like Quick Mark, but a lot of people like iNigma. So, and it's spelled like this: I-Nigma. So these are just a few things. Yes, technology. There's so much technology out there, and teachers have to get to learn. And I'm thankful that you came today, because now at least, even if you don't get to use QR codes in your classroom, you understand the technology. And to me, that shows that you're a good teacher, because you wouldn't be here searching for more insight and getting to learn about this. A lot of times our students will actually be the ones who know so much more about technology than we do. But it doesn't matter the technology. I think it's important to use technology. It makes the classroom more dynamic, more energetic. But the most important part of getting, like Bill Gates says, of getting kids to work together and motivate them is the teacher. So even with all of this technology, it's just great that you use it with your students and use it in innovative ways to get them moving, to get them excited, energized about learning. Because too often in schools, the curriculums that are out there, they just make them do a lot of bookwork, and that's boring, and it makes learning boring as well. So you can scan this QR code and you can find my free book today. But since you did come here, I'm going to go ahead and give you the link to where you can definitely you can go ahead and find all these mobile learning things, and the free ebook as well, my free ebook that I created for this. So thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask right now, and I will do my best to answer those. And let me go ahead and give you these. If you want to learn any more about mobile learning, there's a lot of free material out there that's really good from teachers that are using mobile devices in class. So there you go. That's a bunch of the resources that are here today. Yes, exactly. Okay, so for adults, what they can do that same activity where they do the coupons, or they can scan QR codes for to see what the different advertisements are. And then from there, you can have them do activities with these advertisements, like look at what kind of vocabulary is in there, what kind of grammar phrases. Like, for example, if they were to scan the QR code,